Well, if you've ever traveled down south in the United States or even out west, it is much more common to hear the expression, have a blessed day. Well, Polly Neace claims she was fired for using that expression and is now suing U.S. Bank, where she worked for 24 years as a bank teller. Now, less than 12 hours after this story was posted this week, more than 64,000 people joined the conversation. With us now is Polly, along with her attorney, Randi Blankenship. And we want to thank you, Randi and Polly, for joining us. And first of all, the first question is for Polly. And Polly, after 24 years, I would imagine this made you feel kind of bad.
Oh boy.
I'm going to ask you that question just for a technical issue. Just if you can repeat that question, repeat that answer there, Polly. How did this feel? You were there at this bank for 24 years, we understand.
Yes, I had been with U.S. Bank for 24 years, and it made me feel horrible. I felt like I was being stifled and not allowed to share, you know, the feelings that I had from hearing "Have a blessed day."
Now, Randi, you're with with Blankenship, Massey and Associates. You are representing Polly. Have there been any other cases like this in the U.S.?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there have been several cases of a similar nature throughout the United States where people have been disciplined for making statements such as "Have a blessed day" or something like that. And the courts have pretty well held that people have a right to engage in a religious expression even at work, and that the employer has an obligation to reasonably accommodate the religious beliefs of their employees.
Well, I'll tell you, I made the comment before, if you go out west or you go down south, you'll hear that expression more than you would in New York City, where we're at. So, Polly, I want to just ask you another question. What are you trying to achieve with this case? Because you obviously have a lot of people who are following it, 64,000 people in just 12 hours.
Yes, ma'am, that is overwhelming. Really, the point of everything that I want to get across is I would not ever want this to happen to anybody else. That is the main objective. I feel, as a citizen of the U.S. and a Christian, that I have a right to tell customers to have a blessed day, that is within my rights. And that is the main goal that I want to achieve.
And Randi, obviously you're going to be going into that courtroom. How do you argue a case like this?
Well, it is a question of reasonable accommodation. And if the employer didn't want her to say "Have a blessed day," or somebody had actually complained about it, all they would have needed to do is go to her and say, "Polly, this person doesn't like hearing that. Don't say it to him, but let them say it to everybody else." But what they've done here is they've taken a blanket prohibition and said that they want no mention of blessed, they want no mention of God. In fact, they even told her if you have a necklace with a cross on it, you have to cover up the cross. We don't want people seeing that sort of thing. And one person told her, in essence, we want a God-free workplace here. And that obviously is not the law, it's not fair, and very ironic considering all their money says, "In God we trust."
Well, we certainly thank you for explaining all that. We'll be following this case. We might even have you back on here to explain exactly what's happening. That's Polly Neace and also Randi Blankenship from Blankenship, Massey and Associates. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
You got it. Well, we also want to travel out to Idaho, where 250 of the wealthiest and most powerful executives in media, finance, politics, and technology have gathered for the Sun Valley Business Summit. Some of those in attendance: Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and even LeBron James.
Sun Valley Business Networking Conference started as a private business gathering event, and it has steadily grown in attendance and scope since its inception 30 years ago. Rupert Murdoch, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates are among the few bosses who have descended on the Sun Valley Business Networking Conference, run by boutique bank Allen & Company. The event at the Mountain Resort in Idaho is private, but the impact in the business world is big. The conference generated deal discussions in the past. Comcast Corporation's CEO Brian Roberts discussed NBC with GE Corporation CEO Jeff Immelt, a year which ended in selling NBC Universal to the cable company. Allen & Company is an investment firm, and its yearly conference, while advertised as a low-key and low-pressure social affair, often yield some notable corporate deals, including mergers and acquisitions. Some other notable mergers were the acquisition of Time Warner by America Online and Dow Jones & Company acquisition by News Corp. This year, some media executives and Wall Street dealmakers say they wouldn't be surprised to see a company such as Apple, Google, or Amazon eventually jump into the bidding for a media company.
She was warned.
And to talk more, we have Josh Green. He is the CEO of Panjiva. He joins us now. Did I say that right?
Panjiva.
Panjiva. And you even told me. You know,
now you got it. Now you got it.
And I know it.
When we have such an unusual name, that's what you get.
Panjiva. and I apologize about that. Now, the first question I have for you is, where were our invites to this?
Well, you know, I haven't checked the mail today, so it's possible it's there. But
okay. Next year we're going, all right? We're taking the whole
if
show.
you get an
there.
invite, take me as your date. We'll go. We'll have a good time.
You got it.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this. We've got so many young entrepreneurs that are continuing this tradition. Out there in Idaho, they're all sitting out there, all these millionaires and billionaires. This is a lot about deal making.
Yeah, you know, this event is it's interesting in that it is known primarily for being a place where spectacularly bad ideas are conceived. So the merger of AOL and Time Warner was hatched here.
Okay.
So everybody's sitting here looking to find out whether there's another bad idea that is going to be hatched at this year's summit. But the truth is, most of the news so far out of Sun Valley has not been about deals. It's actually been about the press, interestingly enough.
And a little bit of politics, too.
A little bit of politics. John Kerry had to hop a flight to head to Afghanistan. He skipped his speech. Apparently, the disputed...
I'm sure they were all crushed.
Crushed. But you know, I think it's reasonable that the disputed elections in Afghanistan were more important than hobnobbing with billionaires.
Yes.
But so far, you know, the big stories coming out of there, you've got the Fox business correspondent, Gasparino, being banned from the premises.
Well, he's sort of like that. I'm not surprised because I know Charlie very, very well, and he's always stirring it up. So he probably wanted to get kicked out. He's loving it, trust me.
Well, I was just going to say that's a little good. You get a little press on that as well. But talk about some of the. You were saying that you've got some deals. Any deals that you think might be coming out of there? They were talking about Rupert Murdoch and a couple of deals that he might be thinking about.
Yeah, you know, there's been a lot of speculation, and Marissa Mayer meeting with the CEO of AOL sparked rumors that perhaps there was a deal to be done there. Certainly, you know, the topic from a business perspective is the consolidation of media. Right, you've got Time Warner and Comcast, AT&T. And DirecTV, and so you know a lot of the folks in media are trying to think about how they cope with this.
Is this going to kind of solidify Brian Roberts as like the most powerful man in telecommunications then?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know you've had conversations about the consolidation of power in media before. I think you know that's clearly a topic of conversation. But one interesting note is to see who's not there this year.
Okay.
Jack Ma. Who we've talked about before. So Jack Ma was on the list to be there. Apparently he is not in attendance. Jack Ma, CEO of a company called Alibaba. Jack Ma once candidly referred to his company as the crocodile in the Yangtze River. And he is about to go through the largest IPO in history.
Yeah, but last time you were here, that's what we talked about.
That's right, coming up next month. And he's not there. And I suspect he is very much a topic of conversation among folks there. He just launched a competitor to Amazon and eBay called 11 Main. And I think one of the big questions is going to be what are Jack and Alibaba going to be doing with their billions?
So what are you looking at this besides not seeing Jack Ma there, but what else are you looking at? Any other news that you're thinking that might come out of this conference?
I don't know. At this point, it's been pretty much a snooze fest. If you look at the the other bits of news coming out of there, you've got speculation about drones, which I find pretty ironic.
Now, why are they talking about drones?
Well,
you know what? I'm sorry.
Security is so high.
Well, so
I'm sorry, but I think they're going to Sun Valley and they're living it up, partying it up, just hanging out. I mean, it just seems like to me it's just a fun little getaway for these guys.
Dee Dee, no, you're right. These conversations, these conversations are very much the same as the conversations that we have, right? People are talking about their kids. They're talking about LeBron going back to Cleveland, and they're talking about, the
And
flight
why
in
is
on.
he there? I think it's ridiculous.
Well, he
I'm
is
so
a
over
multi-
LeBron.
Well,
Gosh.
I just like to say, I think it's kind of elitist. I get the whole picture of that. But I think it's good that all of these guys get together and they throw the ball around and they see what's going to happen. And once a year, I think it's good that all these big shots
It's
get
kind of like
together.
you have to go
and
there because something
it's
might.
happening.
Something might
it
just
is
happen.
fear of
It might
missing
happen.
out.
Exactly. I
That
so
is-
agree.
That
It's
is
fear
why
of
people
missing
there,
out.
and and they get to compare the size of their private plane.
I was just going to say, but on the, I was listening to one news report that said they have free daycare. And I thought that was a very great attraction.
Well, the
Yes, and they need it with their billions.
Yeah,
They
they
need the
can't
free
afford the
daycare.
daycare, so yeah, it's a good thing.
Josh, let's talk about some of these folks, though, that were big supporters of Obama. Of course, there's a little bit of politics going on there. You have Christie that's going out there.
Yep.
How do you see this? Because these were big supporters of Obama just a couple of years back.
Yeah, now there are interesting conversations apparently happening about education, talking about charter schools. Apparently, Chris Christie stood up and said, if you really support charter schools, you need to fight the teachers' unions. So certainly politics is a part of the conversation, but I see the world often through the lens of Star Wars, and I think of this as a bit like the gathering at the Mos Eisley
Is that the
Cantina,
cantina,
right?
right?
You've got a bunch of funny-looking people
Is that what you were
gathered
really
from
gonna
all
say?
parts of the galaxy, and they're sitting there drinking and talking business.
Yeah, that's it. Agreed. Some party.
And Josh, just tell us a little bit more. I mean, you've told us about your company before, but just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right now.
Sure. So I lead a company called Panjiva. We have collected the world's best data on about 5 million companies around the world that do business across international borders. We are a technology company that's trying to bring transparency to the somewhat shadowy world of
So you're
global
spying,
trade.
basically.
No.
You should have been on the last segment.
Global trade is a pretty opaque world, and we're trying to bring some transparency to it. And in that context, we've actually come up against Jack Ma, who we were talking about a minute ago, and competed with him. And I will tell you that he is a formidable competitor. And I say this from firsthand experience. So if the executives in Sun Valley aren't talking about him, they should be.
Well, I could talk about him anytime because I just think his story is fascinating. I just absolutely do.
Well, I don't like it.
Josh said
I don't like
something
that
to me
company.
before. He said that he probably knows more about some of these companies than they know about themselves. And I find that very interesting.
Well, listen, we are going to take a break. Josh, always a pleasure. Panjiva.
You got it,
I
man.
said it.
You
How
got
could
it.
I get that wrong? Oh. All right, we'll keep it here to Fresh Outlook, everyone. While LeBron James may be out in Sun Valley right now, we're going to tell you where he's going to next when we come back.